Hello, everyone. Welcome to the September Town Hall Development Update for the Bornless. My name is Jake. I'm the head of community here at the Bornless, and I'm going to be the ringmaster for today's ceremonies. I'm joined by my esteemed colleagues. If you guys would like to introduce yourselves.
Yeah, I'm Branson, head of game development at Cathedral Studios.
And I'm Eric. I'm the tech lead and one of the tech artists, the QA lead and one of the tech artists here at Cathedral.
Awesome. For those that are new here, that don't know what the Bornless is, we're an upcoming PvPvE horror extraction shooter set on a remote island beset by Lovecraftian demons set in the 1960s. Please check us out on Steam. Give us a wish list if you're excited for us to release, if you haven't done so already. And it also gives you a chance at getting into upcoming closed play tests, so definitely worth doing. We'll also have a Q&A at the end of the stream, so if you have any questions, please drop them in chat. There's been a few that have come from our Discord already, but we will be looking at the live chats as well and attempting to pull some questions from there that we'll answer at the end. But before we get there, we're basically going to be showing off some of the new stuff we've been working on over the past 3 months, I think was when we last did the last one. It was like the end of May, start of June, if I remember correctly. So it's been a while. We've been cooking. We've had some time. We've got a lot of cool stuff to show you guys. So why don't we just jump straight into it and show off some of the cool stuff. So first of all, first thing we're going to talk about. We moved from Unreal Engine 5.4 to 5.6. And a lot of you in the chat might think, oh, we're talking version numbers, really? That's the first thing we're going to talk about today? But it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And we'd like to mention it a little bit, say what went into it, because from what I understand, it was a lot of work. And there was a lot of reasons why it's important that we did so. Eric, maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So typically upgrading engine versions mid develop is not the best idea. It comes with a lot of conflicts, a lot of corruption that can happen in the game files, and so it's a lot of work to remediate that and get the game back to functional. But the main reason that we went ahead with this engine upgrade, first and foremost, is performance. Right during Steam Next Fest, that was probably our biggest piece of feedback. That Unreal 5 kind of has unfortunately built the reputation of poor performance with games. And we were in 5.4, which kind of didn't have the latest and greatest. And Epic Games themselves focus both 5.5 and 5.6 primarily on the under the hood performance of the engine. So by upgrading from 4 to 6, we were able to get a lot of that technology. We don't have the team size to be able to cherry pick and build a custom engine. So we are basically working with the vanilla engine. And that all comes down to, using, again, the latest and greatest from Unreal, which is going to be Lumen, Nanite, and Virtual Shadow maps. Those are the big three in terms of the rendering pipeline. And without going much further into the real weeds of that, we basically can use all of those things and just make the game just run smoother and cleaner. So yeah, that's what we got from it. It definitely took some time to get there, but we'll be hopefully showcasing that sometime real soon, and I think everybody will be really happy with the better FPS in the game without losing or actually gaining some visual fidelity as well.
Yeah, I mean, I know from seeing it behind the scenes, it was a lot of hurdles that needed jumping to to get this move to work and to happen. But I think it would be quite interesting for some of the people, some of the viewers, to know what was maybe the biggest hurdle that happened, when we switched the version number and put the new engine files in there, and then we launched. What was the thing that happened that was the most surprising?
It was hurdles and spike traps. It was everything. We got it all.
Yeah, I think I remember the trees disappearing. Was that related to that, or was that something else?
Well, the trees disappearing was intentional. Again, one of the big things with Nanite, the way Nanite works in terms of rendering geometry, performed a lot more poorly in 5.4 than it does 5.6. So we both got the under the hood improvements, but we also have basically changed out all the trees that were on the map because, again, in terms of the performance profiling, our pine trees were consuming about a third of our frame budget, which it's not great. So, that's kind of what everybody was paying for during Steam Next Fest, was just looking at pretty pine trees. So swapping those out, and then, like Brandon said, the spike traps. When you upgrade engines, sometimes things just break. The audio was one of the big ones. Like the way we handle audio in the game just kind of snapped in half, and our audio engineer's been having a hell of a time fixing that up. Nothing in particular, but things just break, when you upgrade engines. That's why you don't normally do it mid-production. But in this case, we do feel like it was worth it.
The garages was a nasty one.
Yeah, isn't it that the cars were suddenly span 90 degrees or something, so you couldn't get out without it.
They were turned 90 degrees. You couldn't get in them. They were the wrong colors. Didn't turn, like, you name it. They just, like, again, they just shattered. So
I remember when we the first like internal playtest that I played in, while like after that happened and all the trees were gone, I spawned in the safe house at the start of the map and was like, wow, I've got like 130 150 FPS. Like, what happened? It's doubled since the last time I played. And then I stepped outside and there was just no trees anywhere to be seen. I was like, that'll do it. I'm not rendering any trees right now. No foliage. Yeah, that's easy. No trees equals more FPS. Next up, we've got a new additional vehicle that our players can expect. We have a lot of people really, really excited about this one. We've got a nice looking motorbike, a nice set of wheels. Brandon, why don't we speak a little bit more about this?
Yeah. So we have a motorcycle. I guess the reason we put it in, we have a couple of characters that are not a couple. All of our characters' stories interconnect in the lore, and a couple of them revolve around a biker bar called the Blind Tiger. If you guys are in the Discord, you may recognize the name. And because it's a biker bar, we knew we needed a motorcycle. Additionally, it will affect gameplay. Less people can be seated on it. It can be faster. You're more exposed when you're on it. So there's definitely some gameplay implications behind it as well, to offer alternate styles of transportation for lore and gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, somebody did ask in chat. It's 2 people, right, that'll be able to fit on this bad boy. If I'm not
That's what we're aiming for.
Yeah,
that's what we're aiming for. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Yeah, what was the sort of inspiration for the design of this thing? I mean, obviously it's got to be period correct, but was there anything else that we really wanted to, like, some essence that we wanted to grab with this one?
Yeah, unfortunately, Fred isn't here today, as he's been the one working on that. And I know that when he was tasked with the assignment, he was very excited to get his hands on it and to bring that to life. So unfortunately, he would be the one to answer that.
Yeah.
I don't have the answer for that
sure.
one.
Yeah. Shout out to Eric. We had to swap Fred out really quickly, and Eric was available to jump in. So thank you, Eric, for showing up. But yeah, I think everybody is super, super excited about the motorbike. We've had the sort of iconic truck for a while, and it's going to be a lot of fun seeing people ultimately just absolutely eat it with this thing and crash all over the place. It's going to be a lot of fun to see. Next up, a lot of the feedback we got from our Next Fest demo was that, everything was really crisp, really nice, but the gunplay and the melee specifically needed a little bit of work. So that's the next thing we want to cover, is some changes to the way that the gunplay works and the melee. So, Branton, again, I know this has been sort of something you've been really getting your hands on for a long time. Why don't you give you guys a little bit of background about what's going on?
Yeah. So, something that a lot of people don't know about game development is it's the last 20% of a system or a design or a feature that makes the difference between whether people think it's a crappy feature or it's the best feature in the game. And it comes down to a lot of the polish. The core gunplay elements under the hood have not changed, but what we've done is we've added weight, we've added movement, we've added motion, just to make the guns feel more alive on screen. Well, as alive as you can get with inanimate objects, but we wanted you to feel like whenever you were moving around, your movements, your motions, your inputs had an effect on the world around you. And that starts with the thing that you see on screen the most, which is the weapons. And so the heavier the weapon, the bigger the weapon. You'll notice the more sway, the more lean we've added to it. So smaller things like the handgun or the revolver will not they won't move as much on screen, but something like the Car 98 or the Lee Enfield or a sledgehammer, when you're running, whenever you're moving, you'll see that momentum, that movement on screen. It will mean that as you are aiming, you'll need to take a little bit more time. You'll need to be a little more patient to line up your shots. But your small movements, you'll be able to really feel like you're having an impact on the world around you.
Yeah, lots of positive feedback on that already. I can see in the chat people are like, "Oh, this looks nice. This looks good." And then obviously I also mentioned about the melee as well. That was a big piece of feedback as well about the melee, and that needed a bit of updating. So why don't we touch on that a little bit too?
Yeah, absolutely. The melee was it's unfortunate. It never got quite to the finished state we wanted, but the feedback on the melee was kind of across the board. Like, it wasn't there. The original intent was that the longer you hold the weapon, it charges, it pulls to a full heavy attack. So you could do light attacks incrementally up to a heavy attack, and that would allow you to hold your knife out in a stabbing motion, or hold a sledgehammer over your head. And when you finally get to a person or a cultist, you can unleash the big heavy attack. Players, we've noticed, and this is not just with melee, this is just kind of across the board with demons, with other things, players just want to spam left click, and that is okay. But we need to make sure that we build around that. So with this new system, the priority first and foremost is allowing players to just mash that melee button. And we've built out light attack combos to go with that. And so now whenever you go up to a cultist or a human or player or whatever, you can just smash that button. What we did notice whenever we added that is could not get into a melee altercation with an AI enemy without taking damage. So what you don't see in the videos on screen, and something you'll get to experience firsthand, is the new stun ability. So whenever you are using your melee weapon, there's a chance that you will cause the enemy to stumble. So specifically with the heavier the weapon, the more likely they are to stumble. So you can go up to cultist and get into hand-to-hand combat, or not hand-to-hand, close quarters combat with them. And that kind of adds to the point I was making earlier about making the inputs you have and the actions you do feel like you're affecting the world around you. So whenever you smack a cultist in the head with a sledgehammer and they fall sideways, you feel that impact. Additionally, there's a couple of polish elements, camera shake, some blood splatter on the screen. We had a VFX artist redo our blood in world as well. So when you shoot or melee an enemy, all the blood will splatter on the ground around you. So again, just making your actions affect the world around you.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see a lot of people are liking the blood splatter as well. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Yeah, cool. So next nice little tidbit. We've got a new point of interest. This was quite a big deal. Let me change that over. Eric, why don't we tell the people a little bit about the radio tower?
Absolutely. So for those that have played the game, the radio tower is above Hollow's Nest. So, we obviously built out the underground spider caverns. And we found that, for the most part, that central area of the map was going ignored, right? Because it was just kind of just some boring forest, and felt like it wasn't getting its due diligence and attention. So the radio tower has been added there. And in terms of, why a radio tower, this is actually a bit of a callback to some of the earlier iterations of Bornless. You obviously have Solomon and his technology and his business that's, nebulously involved in the island. But we also used to have Jerry, which is, our radio announcer, and used to have a lot of fun, like ambient call outs when a team would die. If any of you played Bornless way back, you'd hear Jerry saying something along the lines like, a team has perished and blah, blah, blah. And it was a lot of fun. So this allows us to get Jerry back. And I see Brandon smiling because he's actually the voice of Jerry. So I know he's probably excited to re-record some voice lines and get that back in the game. But, it allows us to use the radios that are in the game, that are in the trucks, the jukeboxes, etc., to put diegetic things in the game, right? Where instead of just seeing a pop-up like a team has been eliminated or whatever has spawned, you can do some really nice diegetic stuff where, it comes over the radio, that something has spawned, an event has occurred, et cetera, et cetera. So it's far more involved. It ties into our lore. It looks great. It makes the center of the map much more interesting because you can kind of now fight for a POI that's above ground or below ground. And I'll kind of leave it there. That the radio tower is going to be much more involved as well with, again, for anybody that's played the game in Next Fest, there was already a series of Easter eggs and things to discover. And let's just say that the radio tower and Jerry will be at the center of that, both literally in the map and figuratively as well.
Yeah. I mean, as you guys can see in the video, the level design team filled it with a lot of detail. There's a lot going on there. I can really imagine players walking around there and sort of like looking at every tiny little detail with their flashlights and like zooming in on everything that's on the machines and stuff like that. It's gonna be super cool to see. Speaking of buildings, though, radio tower's a big building. That's my attempt at a segue, people. We've updated the buildings in the town. Let's chat a little bit about why we did that, because some people really liked the town, but we did feel like it needed changing anyway. So, Brandon, why don't you just touch on why we felt like we needed to do that in the first place?
Yeah, so fidelity is obviously a big one. While we're using the newer versions of Unreal Engine, and with that, as Eric mentioned earlier, comes the new technologies that they bring, Lumen, Nanite, etc. If we're going to enable it, if we're going to eat those performance costs, we might as well make it look nice while we're at it. So that's a big one. We wanted to make it look nice, but additionally, our old houses, we did okay with what we had to work with there, but they really didn't hit the Lovecraftian New England horror vibe, and we knew we needed new assets for that. So we built an entire new modular set with updated textures, higher resolutions, and also with demon gameplay in mind. For those of you that have played the game, some of our demons are quite large and they need to be able to fit in the buildings. So you'll notice on screen there are some massive walls that have been broken and holes in the floors. And those are to allow demons into parts of the houses so that, when you're a player and you go hide in a corner, you're not completely safe. So it allows us to add more details in terms of environment and lore. If it's gameplay, they're aesthetically on the right track with what we're trying to accomplish. So there's a lot of different reasons behind that.
Yeah, that was a there was a lot of footage of people getting stuck in doorways in the last playtest. So yeah, we needed to open those bad boys right up. Speaking of new stuff, again, terrible segue, but we've got a really new looking, different than everything else, environment, the Great Swamp of Zaboslav. We'll touch a little bit on the lore of this one. I think we're going to leave this a little bit, let it be discovered by the players. But why don't we just give a tiny little snippet, a little tiny little bit.
Yeah. So, oh, go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, that's all you, man. That's all you.
Okay. Yeah. Toby, our fearless leader, has been cooking on this, and I've been helping out with the tech art side of it, and it's been a lot of fun. I will say right off the bat that this is an entirely separate level to get your wheels and your suspicions spinning. This is not in Farmouth Island. So the Zabo Swamp is not on Farmouth, and is Zaboslav, has been an idea within the team that has we've iterated on, and he's evolved from just kind of a random plushie for set dressing to a real character. So the Great Swamp will be home to the Great Zabo, and so he's an interesting rift on a new demon, and that's basically as far as I'll go on the lore. As far as the design and the inspiration, we're getting a lot more Lovecraftian in this, a lot more eldritch than Farmouth Island itself. And it's just going to keep adding to, the pile of questions and not the pile of answers. As we get closer to launch, we want that, right? The rabbit hole that is the Bornless lore and all the stuff to discover is going to hopefully be seemingly endless. So yeah, that's without spoiling too much. That's about as much more as I can say about the Great Swamp. But the Great Zabo lives there, and you'll have to make your way into the Great Swamp, not through Farmouth Island. So that's as much as I'll give you.
Yeah, we want you guys to discover this cool stuff yourself. But you mentioned a lot of you mentioned there that we want to try and get more Lovecraftian and Eldritch stuff in there, and part of that is the eventuality of spells, and we've been looking at spell crafting a little bit. This is actually not the right video. Bear with me, chat. We've got the wrong video on this slide for some reason. Where is it? I don't have it. Oh, intriguing. Well, let me just go back to the cameras for a second, and I'll fix that, chat. My apologies. Spellcrafting, yeah, we've been adding a little bit of that in there. So, Branson, what is it? First of all, what is the spellcrafting system that we're talking about?
Yes. So, spellcrafting. For those of you that obviously have played the game, you know that there's things to loot around the island, and there is progression from match to match. Additionally, there are demons that are very difficult to fight against as players, and we knew that we needed to bring counterplay to the humans versus demon gameplay, as well as add that mystical kind of magic-y feeling to the game that we used to have. For those of you that have played a couple of years ago, we used to have spells, and so this new system allows us to integrate that combat, that progression into the looting system. The idea behind it, I want everybody to explore it on their own, but the idea behind it is you find spellcrafting ingredients in the world, you extract with those, you take them back to your safe house, to your altar, and you combine different ingredients to create different spells that you can then use, take back to the island with you. So that will allow for different combinations of ingredients and discovery for players in and out of the match.
Yeah, we can't wait to get spells and stuff in people's hands, because they're going to be awesome. They're going to be awesome. They're going to be important gameplay component, like you said as well. So it's going to be super awesome, and they look really cool. We showed some sort of versions of what we imagine the spells could look like in one of our recent trailers with the if you've watched it and remember the sort of protective bubble and stuff like that. So yeah, they're going to look really, really cool. Next up, calling back to the Lovecraftian stuff, we got some more creepy boys entering the Bornless. We got some monsters, some new monsters and enemy NPCs to talk about. Why don't we cover those a little bit, Eric? We've got a multitude of them to talk about.
Yeah, so I've been really excited for this one. We've obviously had the cultists on the island for a long period of time, and it's been overdue, right? Like the enemy variety is a little lacking. Obviously the cultists all behave the same. They're different in the different biomes of the map, but the time has finally come to make the PvE a little more engaging and get some different boyos on the map. So you're looking at the stillborn right now. He's he's one of the newer ones. In terms of gameplay, you're going to have to interact with him differently than the cultists. I'll let you figure that out on your own, but he's going to be more difficult to kill than your standard cultist. And then you have the scouts there. They are one of our first two flying enemies that are going to be on the map now. So not going to be able to only keep your eyes on the ground as far as the PvE goes now. So the scouts are obviously going to come. They're smaller. They're a little more fragile. They're going to come in larger numbers. And then here in a second, we should be seeing the Watcher. There we go. So these nice guys. And as the name implies, they watch you. And you can see as you walk around them, that eyeball never leaves your attention. And yeah, so they're going to be the larger of the flying enemies. They do have projectiles, so that's another first for our PvE. Is you're not going to have to only deal with melee combat anymore as well. So that's kind of what you're looking forward to in terms of gameplay. Those are the first three new ones in our PvE, and then again we wanted to lean more into the Lovecraftian, into the Eldritch. In terms of lore, these guy, in the Bornless lore, if you've forgotten, God is dead, and some other entities have tried to pick up the mantle best they can. One of those being the angel Gabriel, and so. But Gabriel is not God and does not have the same type of power that God has. So this was Gabriel's best attempt at making a sentient being, and you can see that maybe it didn't go the best.
I think they did. I think they did a great job, personally.
Yeah. He's trying his best, but that's Shoggoths are kind of traditionally as they are failed creations, or failed or successful depending on, I guess, your lens, but they're certainly not human. So yeah, that's them. That's the stillborn, the drones, and the warden. I'm sorry, the warden, not the Watcher. The warden.
Yeah, you can also see some of the static things as well. The static entities, the little eyeball balls. We're gonna say eyeball balls.
Eyeball balls.
Eyeballs is.
I don't know. We'll workshop that one a little bit. And the
town has a story to tell, right?
Yeah, the eye bubbles. There you go.
Yeah, you're
Dash in the chat. Eye bubbles. That's what they are. Yeah, those and the sort of thing that's got the thrashing tentacles going around, sort of static objects. Just more Lovecraftian, tentacly, gross stuff around the place, which is really, really cool. Can't wait for you guys to get in there and become terrified of the stillborn like I am. I'm not his best friend right now. Next up, one of the really cool things we've been working on for a while. We've sort of touched on it before, but we wanted to show it a little bit in a little bit more detail today, and that's the potential building system that we're working on. It allows you to go into your safe house with materials you've gathered from Falmouth Island that you've extracted with, and build some cool stuff. Brandon, why don't you have a little bit of a chat with everybody about what to expect here?
Yeah, so kind of touching on the point I made earlier about progression in and out of match. We obviously have given players this massive island to explore, and for those of you that did play in our last playtest, noticed it may have felt a little bit empty. That was on purpose because we want players to create. We're able to create things and share with you, and we want you guys to do the same thing, share things and create. And that's what the island is for, and that's what the building system is for. What you're seeing on screen is an early prototype version of it. So whenever you guys get your hands on it, it may be a little different. Specifically, the building items themselves. But what we wanted to do was enable player creativity, especially because the safe house doesn't have any. There's no PvP elements to it, so we knew that we could give the player the as much freedom as they wanted. So one thing that we did with the building system is, while you can place things on the floor, they snap. You can put everything together. What really makes building systems shine is giving players the tools to create unique things that they have in their mind. So there is a snapping mode called Freeform that allows you to place objects literally anywhere. If you wanted to put them in the sky, under the ground, on a rock. So there's going to be some very, very interesting cliffside abodes that people start to build. I can already see it now. And the more things we add to it, I think the more interesting outcomes we're going to get. So how that ties into the gameplay is, whenever you go to the island, all the junk you were finding before that kind of felt like it was just there to see and not do anything, all of that stuff can and will be scrap that you can use as building resources. So if you want to build walls or giant billboards or couches, you need to go to the island and you need to bring out junk, bring out scrap items to place down. I know some of you may have found chairs inside of cash registers before that kind of felt out of place. Well, that chair is now useful. Yeah, that's the building system.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what people put together. I think we're going to see some pretty crazy stuff getting made, which should be a lot of fun. So that is all of the sort of new stuff that we have to show you, but it's time to move on to the Q&A. So we've been gathering some questions in our Discord server for a while, so make sure to join there for next time, just to get your questions in there early. We'll answer some of those, and then we'll start answering some from the that we've been gathering from the live chats all over the place as well. So first question is about cross-play and progression from Cloaky in our Discord. He was saying that he doesn't mind starting over, but he'd love to have one account shared across platforms, which I think is a really interesting question.
Yeah. We are currently focusing on PC platform, although we've already started and consulted, and we do plan on bringing it to console. Our backend uses a service that will allow us to handle console as well. So while I don't have the exact answer on what it's going to look like or how it's going to work, the possibility of cross-platform progression is there, but I don't have the exact answer you're looking for at this moment, unfortunately.
Yeah, those answers will come. We've got to get onto other platforms first. We've got to get onto the first platform first, actually, technically.
Exactly.
So give us some time with that one. Next one from Polish Vodka in our Discord. Can we expect teams of 3 being implemented? I noticed that it's one of the main questions from people. And I think this question actually came up on the previous town hall in the Q&A as well, so it might be a very similar answer to last time. I don't remember what exactly was said last time, but probably going to be a similar answer.
Yeah, I'm sure I wasn't on the last town hall, but I'm sure it was this answer. The current Falmouth Island is designed around duos in mind, and So the short of it is don't expect trios soon. It's certainly on our radar. We're considering it, but some pretty it would impact the gameplay of the game a lot, both in terms of the size of the map, how many teams are going to spawn in, the balance of players against demons. Like there's a lot more to consider than just dropping a third player into a team, because it's going to change the game loop a lot. So we want to really we built the game around duos, and we want to nail that core experience. And once we really have that dialed in and players love it, that's when we can start to consider those additional team sizes and maybe just an entirely different mode to accommodate for trios. But definitely don't expect it soon. We're going to nail duos first and make sure we have a really clean gameplay experience there first.
Yep. Next up, Punk as villain, and a lot of people actually from our Discord were asking about lore. But this question specifically was, what does the Bornless actually mean within the lore?
Yeah, I can answer that one to the best of my ability, without spoiling too much, because a lot of the lore discovery, the answers you're looking for, you will get by playing the game, and I don't want to spoil anything before you get a chance to figure it out, because I know from our last playtest there are some of you lore hunters out there that are really, really good at it. You find stuff that we did not expect you to find very, very early. So the Bornless and the game itself comes from an old text, an old ritual. The Bornless ritual was originally a Greco-Egyptian ritual, and Aleister Crowley, when he translated the Ars Geisha to English, included that in his translation. And it is basically about the headless one, or an unknown deity that the ritual is trying to invoke. We obviously have taken our own artistic liberty into that, but that is why the game is called the Bornless, and why you're completing a ritual on the island. There are ties to the Ars Geisha and the book and Aleister Crowley and such through it. So that's as much as I can give you without spoiling too much.
For sure, we don't want to give everything away, guys. You gotta let you find out. Next up from Simo Amiko in Discord said, any competitive/ranked mode to be expected on release?
Yeah, I'll take that one too. In the past, if anybody played, I think it's about a year and a half, 2 years ago now, we had a 2v2 mode as well as a couple of other core modes. While they were fun, we found out that we really wanted to focus on a core mode instead of multiple separate modes. And in that mode, we want to give the opportunity for players to play not just how they want, but in different styles. One thing that can make a game stale is if you're just doing the same thing every match, and for dozens and hundreds of hours you're just doing the same thing, and that is not good for. It's just not fun. And so not putting a competitive or ranked mode in, at least right now, means that we can add quests, we can add multiple different features to allow different types of play styles without compromising the integrity of other parts of the game. So at the moment, no competitive or ranked, or at least in this mode that you will get into play.
Great answer. Next up, we got from Matthew M. We have 3 health consumables in the game as of right now. Is there any plan to add any new consumables that boost the player's abilities other than health, like speed, stamina, recharge time of abilities, etc.?
Yeah, that one's easy because we already touched on it, right? So that's going to come in the form of the spellcrafting. Yeah, they're not the spells are going to affect some of those type of things. I don't think we've actually talked about sigil time of recharge actually, so that's an interesting idea. But yeah, the spellcrafting can have active abilities. They might have passive abilities. They will the spells, the marks, the curses all will be items that can be lost in raid after they are created. So they're consumable in that sense that if you die with a particular spell, you're going to need to craft it again or loot it off somebody else. So in short, that is coming. It's not in the build at the moment, but it's very much planned.
Yeah, for sure. Another one from Clokey. What was or is the biggest challenge you guys have faced with making this game?
Unreal Engine. Final answer, lock it in, Unreal Engine. It is
but the number's bigger now.
Yeah. Obviously, in game development, there's many challenges. In the game and out of the game, creating a team that everybody loves to work with, making sure that everybody's health in the team is good, making sure we have enough time off, but also balancing, enough time to make the game that everybody wants to play. There's design challenges. There's hundreds of millions of players out there, and not everybody enjoys the exact same thing. So balancing a game and adding features that aren't going to alienate everybody. It's going to be interesting to people. It's difficult. It's tough. And then you're dealing with the engine fighting back all the time, with stuff getting corrupted, having to roll back stuff, upgrades to the features, just breaking things. So I wouldn't say there's one specific thing, but it's a balance of everything.
Yeah. I'll just echo. It can be a really frustrating experience when you're trying to iterate on a feature, and then I know best because I'm usually the one smoke testing builds. We get a new build out, move it over to the team app on Steam, and you boot it up, and it's like all the garages are gone. Like they're just gone, right? Like they just disappeared because it's just a straight up corruption. And it just sucks because it's not fun work. And it takes away from the more creative stuff where you have to go back in, roll back changes, or just get into that really nitty gritty code of just what happened here, like what bugged out. And so fighting the engine, but that's what comes along with that engine upgrade, as we spoke about at the start of the town hall.
Yeah, for sure. Next one, another one. This one's actually from a couple of people asked this one, Matthew M and Clokey specifically, about roadmaps, roadmaps for future features, whether it's down to like minor stuff like that. Yeah.
We in previous builds, whenever you go to the matchmaking screen, we actually did have a roadmap, as well as some pictures of the team and such. While we are still, we have our internal roadmap. It's important that we know how, we create a way to get to early access, and sometimes that means cutting features that we really wanted, or compromising, or making room for another one that, while it's more important for the technical integrity of the game to get X feature instead of Y feature. So while we don't have a roadmap for you right this second, when we get to early access, that's whenever the game's playable, the progression is in and working. That's whenever you'll actually see a proper roadmap. So if you get into the build at some point, you might be able to see our roadmap that we had, but again, a proper one you probably won't see until early access.
Sure. Next up was another one from Punkcast Villain in our Discord. How do you guys plan to respond to feedback? They brought up some concerns about some games might just respond to feedback from sort of really vocal streamers with big fan bases. So what's our sort of plan with dealing with that sort of issue?
Sure. I mean, I can definitely speak to this one, as I often handle a lot of the data coalescence after big playtests, as well as I run our focus groups, which I know some of the people in the audience have participated in. So we take in a lot of feedback. We don't nobody's ever really getting our like solo person is getting our ear. So you definitely don't have to worry about like a single vocal streamer like changing the game in some capacity. If you participated in Steam Next Fest, you would have seen that there was just a public feedback forum, right? We got hundreds of responses on that. And coalesced all that data to make a lot of the changes that we've talked about today, right? When we say that like the overwhelming feedback was that Melee needed a rework, that came mostly in part from the feedback forum that was attached to Steam Next Fest. So we just don't really listen to any one particular person. We gather feedback both quantitatively and qualitatively in a lot of different ways, and then that is always presented usually before the whole team, right? It's not even just one person taking that in and then making a decision. Like, I bring all that information to the whole Cathedral Studios team and say, here's what it was, right? We had whatever 100 number of responses, and 74% of them said something negative about Melee. So what do we do? And then we came up with a plan of all right, this is how we're going to address it as a team as a whole. So hopefully that helps in terms of like how we bring in feedback and how we respond to it internally. But there's a lot of steps, and it's always a larger group discussion. There's never like a single vocal person externally or internally.
Sure. So that was the questions we gathered from our Discord. Next up, we've got the questions from you guys in the chat while the stream's been going on. First of all, one of our the Bornless partners, Tired Eye Bags, asked, "Can we put the motorbike in the back of the truck?" Has anybody tried that yet?
We have not tried that yet. No. I'm sure many wacky things will happen if you do that. I know. From our last playtest, the physics on the truck vehicle with the demons is it's goofy to say the least. So I imagine putting another vehicle inside of it is gonna make things 10 times funnier.
Yeah,
I can definitely see like the old like kind of Halo-ish spaghetti physics. Like it'll roll up on the back, and then they'll both just shoot out, spinning at 100 miles an hour. And
yeah, well, we know that Tired Eye Bags and Hog are going to try that one out for sure. Next up, we got a couple of questions from CPOX and Current Pulse, who CPOX asked about elemental melee weapons, and Current Pulse asked about a cast iron skillet being a weapon and stuff like that. So maybe we could just touch on sort of the melee weapon variety or weapon variety in general.
Yeah, so first speaking on the elemental stuff, sometimes there is such a thing as too many features. While we haven't explored elemental stuff, there's no other aspect of the game that deals with elemental other than Phoenix, right? Phoenix can set people on fire. So we haven't considered it, and I don't see, honestly, a need for elemental weapons in our current system. We could totally make it. Like we've got a very skilled team, and again, the fire is the basis. People can be set on fire, so that's the basis for it. But at the moment, no plans for elemental weapons. In terms of variety, we've got fantastic animators. We can add all kinds of melee weapons. They just need to be different. This is where the important part comes in, is you can add 70 melee weapons, but there does, comes a point when, 30 of them are just the same thing reskinned. And there's not really a need to put the time and resources into making it if it's not going to further gameplay positively. So Frying Pan is a good one. Actually, one of our characters, Karta, was originally supposed to have a frying pan as a melee weapon. So that may still happen. I know we've heard the community say they wanted it, so it's definitely doable. It's definitely possible. So keep your eyes out. I'll just say that.
I think people want to hear the noise of the frying pan conking a cultist on the head. I think that's what the people want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next up, another one of our partners, Delcroix, he's asked this question while we were talking about the weapon, the weapon weights and stuff like that, the changes to those
Mhm.
elements. He was asking, was the weapon movement change designed around game pacing? Because wouldn't it make the game become a little bit slower because of having to pause to aim and stuff like that?
Yeah. So one big point of feedback that we got, and it was more from watching rather than people like putting it in a direct feedback form, because we watched a lot of the streams and we watched people play it. What we noticed was a lot of people just like kind of run and gun Call of Duty style, where they
A lot
were
of
just
quick scopes.
sprinting and then quick scoping. Yeah, it was while people were having fun, they were also on the same hand kind of comments about the fact that it felt kind of floaty, or it felt kind of odd. And uh we need to see that from people. We need to see people get in and play aggressively, play slowly, so that we can dial in where we want it to be. So this was part of it was to affect kind of the pacing, to slow down some of the quick scoping. For those players that are just really good, I don't think it's going to be too much of a hindrance.
Looking at you,
But
Pixel.
I think across the board, you will notice that players play a tiny bit differently with the new weapon weight system.
Something I'll add to that we didn't quite mention as we showed off the weapon sway system and just making the weapons feel better is coming to the next build are some balance changes again around that, right? So making the bolt action rifles a bit slower in your hands, right? All of our weapons do have a speed multiplier attached to them, so and as Brenton alluded to, and I should have mentioned earlier regarding the feedback, is we always don't take it directly either. A lot of the creators here have probably had me pop into their stream unwittingly at some point. We like to watch creators, on our personal accounts, so that we can get that unfiltered feedback where they're just speaking their mind. They don't know a dev is in the chat, right? Because that can be really valuable as well. And for that same reason, yeah, Brent and I both observed this. We had a talk about it after Next Fest. How there was many people didn't write it in the feedback, but there was a strong tendency towards most people using bolt actions. Right, the automatic guns were just not favored, and obviously we didn't want to just nerf the bolt actions to a point that they didn't work anymore, right? And then you're just forced to use an automatic. We wanted to, skew it a bit so that the game style was a little weaker, but still viable, right? And the conclusion we came to was to slow them down physically a bit, right? If you're using a bolt action, you're going to move. I think ultimately the decision was like 5% slower than if you're holding some of the automatics, right? So that it gives them that little edge in terms of like pushing into somebody that has a bolt action, and you can't just run somebody down, with a Car 98 because you are moving slower, right? You're going to have to either get out of melee to catch back up to them, or they might just get away because you have your Car 98 out and they get around the corner before you can take that second shot because they are moving faster with a pistol or what have you. So yeah. So that is coming as well with the weapons way.
Yeah. Additionally, we did also, and I didn't mention this earlier, do another pass on the recoil specifically for the automatic weapons. So while the previous variation was quite intense, and a lot of people struggled with it, we have lowered the speed at which the recoil moves. Not so much how much recoil there is, but how long it takes. Let's say if you shoot 10 bullets, how long it takes to your aim to go from point A to point B. That's still the same amount, but it's over a longer period of time so that you have more opportunity to control the recoil. And on some guns, we just straight up reduced it. So I think For those of you that were playing with the PPSH or the Tommy gun or the Sten and found it difficult to control, I think you'll like where it's at now.
Yep, great answer. Slayer of Humans 666, excellent name for the context of our game, by the way. Will you have creatures in waterways when we walk through them? I know that we have a lot of phobias in the game, so why don't we have a look at that? I can't remember what it's called, but the phobia of like deep water and things coming out of the
so
water.
The Lasophobia.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, thalassophobia. We don't actually have any waterways that you walk through at the moment in the game. What I can say is we did in the past. We used to have a game mode called the Bodis game mode, and one player played as a giant demon snake, and it was in like a Amazon style rainforest where players had to walk through muddy water that was like waist high or chest high, and the snake could go under the water so that he couldn't be seen and jump out at players. So we've experimented with it and we like it, but Farmouth Island itself doesn't have waterways like you're thinking. However, if you haven't played the game and you get in, you will see bodies of water. Keep your eye out on those because you will see some interesting stuff.
I like that.
I'll also add, because I've been the one working on it. Obviously, the map is an island, and while you might not have spent much time in it, we did see a couple people, when they called the boat at the lighthouse, hide in the water to underwater from the demons because you were able to. That's not going to so much be the case anymore. So
we got you.
There are not things in the waterway, but there are definitely things in the water outside the island. So yeah, we'll leave that there. The shoreline might not be the safest place anymore.
Yeah, great. So the next one from Drummer Chick mentioned story mode. There's been actually a couple people that have mentioned story mode. Cat Weasel's another one saying that there's so much lore and they would love to learn and experience that lore with a way to play through a story or something like that. But maybe we can comment on that a little bit.
Yeah, so the game mode you see and that you guys have been playing is only probably a sixth of the entire content that we've explored throughout the life cycle of game development. We had, I mentioned the Bodis mode, the 2v2 mode, the original Oribus game mode, which is the game mode we have now is kind of a fusion between some of the other stuff. And one thing that never made it to the public, but we did experiment with, were chapters of single player driven levels that you would unlock doing XYZ gameplay thing, and it would unlock a chapter of a single player campaign you could play through. And while we realized that the scope of that was really, really high to do that, we on the same hand, it was very useful to explore that story. So it's not out of the bucket yet, but I don't want to spoil anything. As you progress through the game, you will come across single player levels. I know we showed off the Zabo swamp. It's not on Farmouth Island. You're going to see more and more of those to complement the story and the gameplay, and it will be tied in through progression of playing the core game mode on Farmouth Island.
Yeah, it sort of ties into what you were saying before about when we were talking about the possibility of ranked and stuff like that, is that we're sort of building the ritual game mode to be something for all players, including those that might be interested in playing a story mode, and you can go into the ritual and sort of experience it like a pseudo story mode where you go in and find secrets and bring them back to your safe house and try and uncover the secrets yourself and stuff like that. So yeah, sort of is the answer, I guess. Another one of our partners, Ellie Showdown, asked when we were talking about the new monsters with all the eyes, the eye bubbles, as we've decided they're officially called for sure. She said, "Oh wait, maybe you need a warning for that. Is that trypophobia?" It definitely is trypophobia, I think, or it could certainly trigger some people with some trypophobia. But we haven't really been very I don't know if careful is the right word, but there's plenty of things in our game that can trigger a lot of phobias. We've got spiders, we've got clowns, we've got lots of stuff. So if you've got trypophobia, we got you.
We need to do beginning splash screen. That's just a laundry
Yeah.
list of if you have.
It's like the Star Wars credits. It's just like a line of text that just flows into the distance with a list of every phobia that exists. Next up, so when we were talking about the building system, CPOX asked, will they have collision? So I can like build things and jump on them and maybe drive a car around them and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yes. Which is why I was
answer
saying
is
that we're going to
yes.
see some really wild stuff, I think.
Yes, we are.
Can't wait to see the recreations of Rainbow Road above the Safehouse Island. It's going to be great. Next up, Uberkist or Kist in our Discord said, will there be loose non-combat loot and a crafting system? And then a lot of other people asked about loot and crafting and bringing that to houses and stuff like that. And then some people said about, you know what would be great? Furniture you can build out of demon parts. So a lot of questions about crafting and sort of how that ties into the building system.
Yeah. So, I don't want to. Again, I don't want to spoil too much. But for those of you that played before and you just got a bunch of junk loot and you could trade it for items, that system is in the middle of being reworked. We obviously have the spell crafting where you'll find individual components and use that in your crafts rather than like just sell it for gold. You'll be able to take items and scrap them, or like for scrap that you use to build. That's your like building currency, quote unquote. A lot more uses and versatility to the loot you will find on Farmouth Island that ties directly back to your safe house. So I know after 3 or 4 days of playing, whenever you found a boot, for example, unless you were Jake or that other community member that was in the boot contest, for for the standard for the standard player. A boot might not really mean anything. It's just another item, whatever. Now that boot might actually mean something. So we're pretty happy with where it's going. We're still working on it. So obviously it's in development still. But the reworks to a lot of these systems, I'm 100% sure everybody will appreciate.
Yeah. The boots always meant something to us, really. Next up, some people are asking about chat boxes and in-game communication with people that might not have microphones and stuff. Is that something we've been looking at?
So we had chat in the past whenever we had the 2v2 game mode, and one thing that we've noticed, even in just the playtest recently, is it is enabling toxicity and really inappropriate stuff in game. And it's one of those things where while a majority of the player base would use it appropriately, there's still that quite large section that would abuse something like that. And that is the core reason we haven't added a chat box at the moment, because we don't want to enable more and more ways for toxic players or negative players to affect somebody who's just trying to have a good time. And I'll leave it at that, basically.
Yeah, I'll tack on to that too, because I see people instantly asking it. There's a tendency for people, for whatever reason, it's just like human nature, they're more willing to be toxic through chat than they are voice. Something about hearing in your own ear or something, maybe realizing that you're being a meanie. But additionally, during Steam Next Fest, the only report system that we had was just a report that there was toxicity in the lobby as a whole. We are working towards a system where you'll be able to bring up a list of those people that are VoIPing and see, when their mic is flaring, so that you can report a specific user or mute a specific user. Because I mean, we're well aware of the toxicity that happened. Unfortunately during NextFest, we just didn't have the infrastructure to. I mean, we could address it. We could see if a user was repeatedly in a lobby that was being reported, and you could like zero in on like, like 5 lobbies has been reported. This guy has been in every one of them. Like, it's probably this guy, and we could ban them. But that took time and multiple reports. And didn't give players the agency or content creators the agency to like shut that person up. So we're aware of it. We're working towards it.
One thing I am seeing in the chat, the questions is they wanted the chat for being able to communicate to their teammate. There are ways to supplement that and support that without chat. A ping wheel is a good example. You add 10 different pings that, enemy here, demon here, look here. That is something that we actually had at one point. And with so many systems being reworked over time, it just never got added back in. But we used to have a little ping wheel for different commands, basically. And that's something we can definitely add back in as we want to incentivize team play. So that's definitely a big one.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, another one of our partners, Morgan, asked for colorblind gamers, will there be accessibility options that go beyond just changing to a colorblind filter, or are there plans to?
Yeah, so the game itself, have we showed any of the new map before I answer this question?
Not right
Not much.
now.
Okay.
You know what? You answer that question. Assume not. We might show something a little bit new.
Okay.
After.
Well, for those of you that played before, the map was really, really dark. And especially for someone that has color blindness, especially severe. I know the person asking this question, that can be very difficult when everything is one tone basically, and it's dark. The new lighting rework to the map should make it much easier to identify silhouettes via contrast. That is, or any colorblind people, that stark contrast is the easiest way to see. I understand that myself. So the new lighting helps that. It won't be the answer to everything, obviously. Color blindness, the intensities. We'll do what we can. We obviously need to make the game first, and we're still working on that part. But we're always taking feedback, localization, any sort of what's the word? Oh man, I can't think of the word. Things that help people that have issues. I forget the word.
Accessibility.
Accessibility. Yeah. There we go.
There he is.
Yeah, accessibility features. We will absolutely put more time into once the game is made.
For sure.
Yeah, it is one of those end of the line features too, right? Because when you put it in early, inevitably it keeps breaking. As you add more things and you change the visuals, you just have to keep going back and fixing it. So in terms of production, it is best to add it at the end, even though that's a bit annoying for those that need it, because you would have to spend time just repeatedly touching it up every time the visuals of the game change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Magic Man, we actually had a few people asking this because it came up in the last town hall, maybe, where we were sort of talking about the vague concept of us maybe doing a motorbike, which we obviously are. Was about sidecars for the motorbike. Would it be something we could craft? I know I've spoken to, it might have been you actually, Eric, not long ago, where we were discussing how the handling on a motorbike with a sidecar is not ideal. People might be surprised what that actually feels like realistically.
Yeah, I mean, we intend to have obviously more vehicles than just one truck and one motorcycle, right? So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, eventually. Tie Dye Bag said something about will there be a system of being able to see who killed you or who you are killing, which I think is interesting. It was like whether it's a kill feed or something like that.
Yeah. We in the past had a local kill feed. So instead of it being broadcasted to the whole match, if you killed someone, it would just show up on your side who you killed. And vice versa. If you got killed by someone, it would just show that. It's just one of those systems. Again, we've reworked and changed engine versions so many times that it just kind of got lost in the mass of code. If that is something that people genuinely want and it's a feature that will benefit players, we can definitely put the time in to add it back. But it has not been. It's not on our sprint. I'll say that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people in chat now suggesting silly vehicles, tricycles, bicycles, skateboards, roller skates, the Victorian single big wheel. Which would be a lot of fun.
Branson, can we make Zagan's dash? He just hops on a tricycle and just like a real mini one, you know?
Right.
That would be very funny. So that's all the questions we have for now. But I sort of mentioned we might show a little bit of new level design off. This was not something that is written in any of the preparation documents I've showed these two. It was something that our fearless leader that was previously mentioned, Toby, sent to me literally this morning. So it's we've got some pictures to show off of. He's been working on the new Safehouse, or redesigned Safehouse, or he's give it a lick of paint. So we've got a couple of images to show off of that, which look pretty cool. Look at this. We've got pumpkins everywhere. We've got nice autumnal trees. Autumnal! Get your pumpkin spice lattes, everybody. We're going to the safe house. Looks very cozy, very nice. Absolutely beautiful. We love to see it.
Yeah. This is the first look at the new lighting.
Yeah. And that, I mean, if there's anything else, any other extra details you have to give over what this looks like, then go ahead, because I got nothing.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, you know, again, a lot of this comes back to that upgrade. Allows us some new lighting features. You know, again, you can see that the trees have gone from mostly pines to now we have these nice fall red oaks. You know, in terms of the actual reflections going on, you know, that comes back to the Lumen dedicated rays and hardware ray tracing and a lot of the under the hood stuff there. All that nerdy stuff that I like to talk about, but that most of chat probably doesn't care too much about. They just want to see the end product. But yeah. So
I will say the map doesn't look like this. So for anybody that was wondering, this is just the safe house.
Yeah.
The
safe
lighting
house is safe.
here.
There's no fog.
The safe house is exactly. The safe house is meant to be warm and welcoming after you leave the cold confines of Farmouth Island. So this is nice and warm.
Yeah, it will be a lot darker than this on Farmouth because we want to add the spookiness. So for sure. But yeah, that is all that we have for you guys today. I really appreciate everybody that's joined in. Make sure to go and wishlist us on Steam if we've convinced you that our game is really, really cool. Hopefully we have. Check out our Discord as well. I've mentioned it a few times. You can go in there, join our really, really awesome, really, really positive community. Ask questions ahead of events like this to get your questions in there, along with a lot of other benefits that you can find out more about by joining. Also, check out on our website, we've got a little campaign running right now where you can win an NVIDIA GPU by doing a couple things on a competition. You get extra points for referring your friends as well, so go and check that out. And once again, I'm sure I echo the sentiments of my esteemed colleagues here, but thank you very much for watching and joining us today. It's been a blast. We love showing you all the new things that we've been working on. We're just as excited to show you guys what it is as you guys are to play it, I'm sure. So yeah, really appreciate everybody coming through. And we can't wait to see you guys again. There's a lot of people asking playtest when, and we're not answering that right now, so you can stop that. You can stop that right
Soon.
So,
Soon.
yeah.
You have to give them a credit for trying.
Yeah,
You know,
they've
have
got
to
to
at
they've
least
got to
try.
ask. You know, they've got to try their luck, but your luck isn't going to land today, I'm afraid. But yeah, like I said, appreciate you all coming through. It's always a blast, and we'll see you in the next one. Yeah, see you later, everybody,
Thanks, everybody.
and stay
Bye.
unholy. That's the thing, isn't it? Stay unholy,
Bye.
everybody.